This video explains how to add a user. To add a user, you must have either administrative or super user authority. Go to the System tab and then the Users menu and the Manage Users submenu. This will show the grid of existing user profiles. There are 3 ways to create a new user. First, from scratch. This means all their settings will be the default system settings, which means you will probably need to adjust the rights and settings for the individual user requirements. Second, from a template. This means the new user profile will be given the same rights and settings as the template. Third, from another user by highlighting that user and copy selected. This means the new user profile will be given the same rights and settings as the donor user profile. It is better to use either a template record or an existing user as the donor profile so as to standardize the new user profile rights and settings. Once in the new user screen, enter their first and last name and optional initials. This will automatically generate a user ID, but you can change the user ID if you want. You must enter their title and primary email address. The secondary email address is optional. If supplied, it can be used later to better manage system-generated emails. The user type should be one of template if you want to create a specific template profile to be used later as a donor profile. Regular user, someone who will have specific authorities and rights in the system. Administrative user, someone who has complete authorities and rights in the system. Super user, only a super user can create a super user. A super user has the highest rights in the system and should be reserved for the business owner only. The assigned business unit must be selected. Your company may have multiple business units, like a trucking division and a logistics division. The new user may work for multiple divisions, so choose the one they do the most amount of work for. The user location identifies the physical location where the user works. You must choose from one of the drop-down entries. The preferred language setting will eventually translate the screens into the preferred language of the user. Currently, it does not. The time zone setting will default to the time zone of the assigned user location. This is an important setting since the system will show the user date and time in this time zone. Set salesperson flag to yes if this user is a salesperson. Salespeople have additional features. The restrict IP setting currently is not wired in the system. If you have defined segmentations like service teams or revenue divisions, you can assign the user to any of these segmentations. By default, the phone and fax numbers would default to your company main numbers. You can modify the numbers and you can also add an extension. Optionally, you can enter a home number and 2 cell phone numbers. These will be important if you want to share these phone numbers in your company profile. Optionally, there is an area to store the home address of the user. Then save the profile. The new user will receive an email with their temporary password and instructions on how to sign in. The system uses a 2-layer security process. The user must first sign into your account with your corporate code and corporate password. The corporate password will never be shown on an email, and your TMS provider does not know your corporate password, so it is your responsibility to provide your corporate password to all your users. Once the user enters the corporate code and corporate password, they can choose their user ID from the drop-down and enter their temporary password. They will be required to change their password to their personal password upon their first successful sign-on. If the user forgets their password, they can click on the Forgot Password link on the sign-in page. This will reset their password to a temporary password and send them an email with the new temporary password. Your TMS provider does not have access to the user password. You should now review the video on user settings.